Welcome to the Boxing Talk Show, fair but firm, with the Hall of Fame boxing referee. I'm Joe Cortez and co-host John Zamel for all of Las Vegas. Come on, guys, let's touch them up. Clean fight. I'm Joe Cortez, fair but firm.
Hey, welcome to the Fair but Firm Show. Hey, Joe Cortez and my co-host John Zimmer from Las Vegas, Nevada, the boxing capital of the world. Here in Las Vegas today, it's a beautiful 64 degrees. I feel sorry for you guys back east with all that snow and cold, and it's freezing back there. I'm glad I made the move 28 years ago. I'm here in Vegas. I knew better. You know, when my hair started falling off, I said, it's time to get out. I couldn't take that.
You got to get a tan up there.
Oh,
now.
my God.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a nice tan
do it
now.
out there. Yeah, you look great all the way around.
Hey, talking about taking my hair off, the first time I shaved my hair off, I was refereeing in Las Vegas. I didn't tell nobody in my family back east, but I came to referee. It was a Hector Macho Camacho versus Felix Trinidad. And it was a fight that the fans wanted to see. And it was three little Puerto Ricans in that ring dancing around the ring. I love to dance.
Puerto Ricans.
I was all over that ring. And I'm a Canelo Alvarez. It would have been a good fight to have it back in those days. But Canelo Alvarez. Talking about Canelo Alvarez. Anyway, that's why I shaved my hair off. The heat here was too much. And the cold back there was too much. So there I had no protection. Here, I didn't need it. So I decided to make the move. Here I am.
Well, there you go.
Anyway,
that's a good story. That's some boxing trivia for you guys. There you go. That's something you didn't know. What was the first fight Joe Cortez was completely bald? That's a good one.
That's a good one.
And now you know that.
And my family back home say, oh my God. I didn't tell anybody anything. I said, this guy, man, he's losing. He's going crazy. Why is he taking out his head? Hey, come on, guys, you know.
Well, you had that famous ring for the longest time.
No, I felt like I had a halo over my head.
You did? Well, you looked like you had a halo.
And I was like a saint. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, that's not me.
No more.
No, I'm not a saint. So I said, I took it off.
I like
anyway,
that, man. That's good stuff.
Hey, this past weekend we had Keith Thurman and Josecito Lopez.
Yes, sure.
You know, people wanted to see what Keith Thurman had. He was out for like 23 months. Mm-hmm. And people were saying, you know, did he have it Saturday night? And we're going to discuss it. You guys, any questions you want to put in, I'll answer them, and John will answer, because we know that Keith Thurman was out for a while, had a lot of ring rust, and he had to use that DW-40 to spray out his body because he had too much rust, too much ring rust. And I think that he didn't have enough, what it took to make his stock stay up. His stocks kind of went down a little bit because, especially that 7th round, John.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. I thought in the 7th round for a second, I thought we were going to have Josecito Lopez be the new welterweight champion of the world. I thought that was, how crazy that sounds.
Well, let me tell you one thing. I think he was smelling the WBA championship belt. He was doing pretty good, considering that he was, when I refereed Josecito Lopez's last fight was against me. When I refereed,
that was your last fight?
Was against, my last fight was against when he fought Canelo Alvarez at the MGM Hotel.
He didn't look as good as he did Saturday.
2012. And here he is, all these years go by, he comes back, he like revolutionized himself. He's back on the scene. He got it. I gave him a lot of credit. I won't give him cash. I give him credit.
You have
the man really came back. He had all the energy. He came better prepared than any fighter I've ever seen. He really had a Saturday night.
He looks great.
Robert Garcia, his trainer, embraced him, and like they were so proud. You know what? And I say, hey, good going, guy. You did a good job.
I think that's one person that's kind of overlooked in all this. People want to, be quick to talk about Keith Thurman doesn't have it. Keith Thurman, blah, blah, blah. But Robert Garcia deserves a ton of credit for what he's done, what he always does. There's a reason he won Trainer of the Year a couple years back from, in every publication. There's a reason he's as well respected as he is. That's a guy who can take any fighter and on the incline, on the decline, and show him, the right way. And I think he deserves all the credit in the world.
Absolutely. And I give him cash. Credit and cash.
Robert Garcia deserves it, man. He deserves all of it.
Well, let me tell you, he's training his brother, Mikey Garcia, who's a 3-time division champion, undisputed
top
champion.
5 pound for pounder.
And not only that, but Robert Garcia himself was a lightweight champion of the world.
He was.
So they have good roots and
they got good genes and they got good boxing minds. There's a reason Mikey Garcia is considered one of the best fundamental fighters on the planet. He's not just a great athlete, he's not just a great fighter, but he's fundamentally very well trained and very well disciplined. And you got to credit his brother for that.
And not only that, you guys that don't know him personally, like I do, the man is like a gem. He is beautiful, good to talk to. What a gem. He has a lot of
Robert.
I'm talking about Mikey Garcia.
Oh, Mikey, I'm sorry, yeah.
And his brother Robert also. Mm-hmm. But Mikey, you see, he's a 3-time world champion, 3-division champion, a unified champion.
Yes, sir.
And the guy's a gentleman. You could talk to him. He's just you can't believe how sweet he is.
No, and I do believe it because he always, he comes across real well in every interview, incredibly humble, and also a guy who, I give a ton of credit for, and we constantly do on this show, for reaching out and trying to fight the best all the time, of which we talk about, deserves all the credit. Just like you deserve to get a little bit, criticism when you duck some great fighters, and you deserve a lot of credit when you go after great fighters. And Mikey Garcia is going after great fighters.
No, I ain't going after
Errol Spence, the boogeyman of the welterweight division, the guy that Keith Thurman has been afraid to fight.
Well, not afraid, but he wasn't ready for him.
But yeah, a lot of times he hasn't said his name. Let's put it that way.
But I tell you one thing, Errol Spence is a good fighter. I mean, he's outstanding at IBF welterweight champion. And, you got Sean Porter, WBC champion.
Yes, sir.
You got Keith Thurman, WBA champion.
And you got Terrence Crawford,
and Terrence Crawford, WBO champion.
I'm sorry, thank you.
So, I mean, you got 4 champions up there. When the title gets unified, it'll be great. But I can tell you one thing, that Saturday night, Keith Thurman looked okay at the beginning, but then after the 4th, 5th round, he let Joselito Lopez kind of take over. Joselito Lopez was putting the pressure. He was chasing Keith Thurman around that ring. Because Keith Thurman knows that Joselito Lopez can punch.
Yes.
I mean, he's not the best fighter in the world. He never won a world title, but he's been in title fights, and he
can punch.
Yeah, he can punch.
Absolutely. And okay, but let me ask you this: should it have been a majority decision, or was it a unanimous decision? Even despite that 10-8 round, 7th round, do you still think that it should have been comfortably scored towards Keith? Because I have a hard time scoring it a draw. And you try and see everybody's perspective.
You know what? I see. I can live with a unanimous decision. And a majority decision, meaning, for you fans I don't know, is 2 judges give it to one fighter, to fighter A, and the other judge call it even.
Yeah.
It was 6-6 in rounds.
And one guy decided it was a draw because of the 10-8 round 7. He gave enough he felt that Joselito did enough to warrant a draw. I did not feel that way. But at the same time, he definitely deserved credit. And I guess in order to get credit for his performance, you have that little MD next to his name. So
well, Joselito got dropped, I believe it was in the 2nd round.
It was in the 2nd round.
2nd round knockdown.
Keith Thurman kind of looked like his old self in the first 4 rounds or so.
I said, wait a minute. He went down the 2nd round. I said, maybe it's going to be early night.
I thought it was going to be early stoppage,
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was, I thought that Joselito was going to not be able to take the punching power because Keith Thurman is a puncher. So what happened now was that at the end, it was a unanimous majority decision for Keith Thurman. And I can tell you guys one thing, that Keith Thurman now will have to continue fighting other fighters and not no championship caliber champions because he's going to have his hands full. I think anybody with the way he performed on Saturday night did not look good for him at the welterweight division to be a threat for any one of the champions that are there. So
and not only those champions, let's not forget the WBA regular champion, and this is a belt that we scoff at a lot, but the WBA regular champion is also known as the most profitable fighter in that division. That's a man by the name of Manny Pacquiao, who anybody in that welterweight division would love a chance to get at Manny Pacquiao and get those Pacquiao dollars, because I mean, is there really a reason why Adrian Broner's making more money than the Keith Thurmans of the world? It's because he's fighting Manny Pacquiao.
Okay, Keith Thurman was fighting for
the WBA belt.
Okay, but Manny Pacquiao
is the WBA regular belt.
Yeah, so it is very confusing. The fans out there. You got 2 champions, WBA champions, one's a regular, one.
It's the super champion.
I mean,
is this bad for? I mean, the regular champions. I mean, I don't want to speak bad on any organization, but that's confusing, right?
It is.
It is confusing when each. I mean, there's enough sanctioning bodies as it is, and then when one sanctioning body has as many. Do you know they have 5 cruiserweight champions? The WBA.
You know what? I'm gonna make a comeback.
You might be one of them,
and I'll be number 6.
I haven't checked in a while. You might already be there.
Yeah, I'm about. No, I'm not that heavy.
You're not cruiserweight. No, I'm above that.
I'm a super middleweight, 168.
That's good. That's a good move. Yeah. Speaking of super middleweights, we got breaking news. We're breaking news on this show right now. The former WBA super middleweight champion of the world, George Groves. Those of our fans out in the UK remember him for a long storied UK career.
Yeah.
He just announced his retirement today.
Yeah.
So we want to give congratulations on a long, well-fought career. He just came off of a loss to Callum Smith in the World Boxing Super Series, and right before that, he beat Chris Eubank Jr. to show he still has had a spark of the old flash at the end there.
I believe I refereed one time out there in the United Kingdom, if my mind.
Probably, more than likely.
Yeah, but I think I'm almost sure I did. But anyway, kudos to George Groves. Great job, great champion. And stay involved. You could be doing some stuff behind the mic at the fights as a commentator. You'll be an excellent commentator, I'm sure.
Absolutely. It's the guy who shared the ring with a lot of greats. So I think he's got a lot of good fans out there. And why wouldn't Sky Sports or whoever would love to have him on team?
Exactly. Today we're going to have a special guest. It's going to be interesting guest to have on the show. You guys know about Compubox. You see it on TV. The guy does all the punch stats, how many punches landed, how many hard blows, how many jabs, how many body shots.
They're basically the end-all, be-all when you see stats. There are no backup stats when it comes to boxing statistics. Compubox kind of is all of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good. The Compubox has been around for a while, and it gives you kind of an idea of what you're watching. Because sometimes you're talking to your buddy, you're having a beer, and you wonder, who's hitting who the most.
Exactly. And what landed, who jabs, power punches, such
and then you see Compubox comes up there, and they're putting their stats, and we're going to have a friend.
And a lot of people don't know what that is. They don't understand, what are we looking at? Is this an exact science? How do we get these numbers? And we have a gentleman from that company who's going to be on very shortly, who's going to be explaining that to us. But real quick, while we're breaking news, I want to mention that Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, it just broke, will be, if everything, that we're hearing is correct, BoxingScene.com just reported that their deal is going to be to fight at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, either May 18th or April 27th. Do you have any, you feel anything about that deal?
Well, I don't know what's happening. I don't think it's nothing official yet.
Well, no, but it was reported.
It was reported, but let's see what happens. I mean, I want to see it. It'd be a great rematch to have because, the first one they had ended up in a controversial draw. I mean, we also... A
lot of people think that Brooklyn's good because it's in between Las Vegas and England, so a lot of guys don't have to stay up as late. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Barclays would be a good spot for it.
Yeah, it'd be a good spot, but it's going to be a good fight to have anywhere, any place in the world, because that fight is really a fight. The first one, the fans really saw something that they would not expect, including myself.
Absolutely.
I thought that Tyson Fury was going to be knocked out by the 8th round, and you know what? He came in to show the fans, to show the boxing world that he has what it takes to be a credible contender, a champion.
He was unreal, man. He just looked absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they tried to get him at the Barclays Center last time. They tried to get this fight. They couldn't because Michelle Obama was scheduled to speak there. They tried to get him in Las Vegas, but they couldn't do that because Justin Timberlake had a show that actually got canceled that night. They were supposed to be there. So it was pretty awesome. So now, they have anywhere they could choose from and any date they can choose from. And this is what it's looking like it's narrowing down to. So if this is all true, then this is big news.
Good. Okay, we're going to have our friend from Compubox, Lee Groves, good friend of mine for many years. He's doing an excellent job. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
Great. Great to listen. Finally, somebody got to listen to the voice behind the punch stats.
Yeah.
You are an amazing person, and I want you to walk us through. The fans say, how did they get those numbers? How did these guys get to count? Is there somebody actually really counting the jabs, a guy counting the punch, the left hooks, and the different people behind those numbers? And I say, you know what? I'm going to get Lee Groves on the phone. He'll tell you guys exactly what's going on. Lee, walk us through.
Okay, well, we at a show, there is a two-man team. Each of us is responsible for tracking one fighter each. So, and what we do is each of us, we have 6 buttons to press. One is a missed jab, landed jab to the body, landed power punch, or missed power punch, landed power punch to the body. Each time our fighter does one of those 6 things, we hit the appropriate button, and the program counts the number. That's where the numbers come from. And in Compubox's world, anything that is not a jab is a power punch. It really has nothing to do with the force of a punch. The theory is that if a fighter has an effective jab, then the rest of his game usually follows. And more times than not, that's the way that it usually turns out. But that's basically the mechanics of how we do what we do. It's a two-man team. We watch our fighter throw the punches, and we hit the appropriate buttons.
Okay, let me ask a question, Lee. When a fighter throws a punch, like some judges at ringside, a punch is thrown, but they don't know if it connected or not. How do you guys call it?
Excellent question.
Well, as for me, I look at the target area of the opponent, and I track the gloves with my eyes to see if it penetrates and scores in the scoring area. And also, one of the things that we have to do, or one of the things that I do, is measure the intent. Is the fighter intending to score with his punch? There are some fighters who kind of throw out their jab halfway, sort of as a probe, but they're not really snapping it. They don't look like they're trying to score against the opponent. Those jabs I don't count. It's only jabs and other shots that are intended to score that we track.
Okay, Lee, I want the listeners out there and the viewers, because we are on the Fair But Firm show. We're globally, and I want the fans out there to understand that if you just joined us, we have Lee Groves, who's the Compubox, one of the experts behind when you see those stats numbers out there, fans, how many punches were landed. The man that you're listening to on the phone right now, on the line with us, is Lee Groves, and I respect him very much because, he's in a position that many fans don't even know how to score a fight, what punches you counted. And this is the expert that I call Lee Groves, one of the experts in boxing, because of his accuracy in counting these punches. It's not an easy job.
No.
You got to be focused 150%, because if you miss one good solid blow or 2 or 3 jabs, it can make a big difference at the end of the fight if you're not paying close attention every round. So what you're doing, Lee, I know it's difficult, but we're glad that you're able to explain to them about how you score how you count the punches. Now, let me ask you a question. You have another gentleman that works with you. I would see you with somebody else. Is he doing the same thing you're doing, or is there more people involved?
What was the question?
Is there another individual helping you along with the punch stats? How many of you are working on the chart, on the tablet there, keeping score of these punches that are being thrown? 1 person, 2 person, 3, or what?
Well, as far as how many people actually do it, there's about 8 to 12 of us that are trained to do it, and we go to various shows around the country and everything. But as far as an individual show is concerned, we just have 2 operators. One provides, like at the end of the round, for example, I take a look at the screen to see if there is a notable stat, either based on what the commentators say to back up what they say, or maybe not. And I pick out the stat, I write it out on a piece of paper, I give it to the broadcaster, and he chooses whether to mention it or not. Then the other operator keeps track of the punches every round on a sheet, so that if there's a trend, suppose one fighter outlands another fighter by a big margin over the last 3 or 4 rounds, then we can take note of that, pass that trend along, and we're busy all the time. It's not just counting punches in the fight, but we're also very busy between rounds.
I'm going to ask you a question that probably no one has ever asked you in your whole career, and that is,
okay,
I'm going to ask you a question that probably no one has ever asked you in your whole career, and the question is, when the decision is rendered and you have your numbers in favor of fighter A and the decision is given to fighter B, are you surprised of the outcome of the judges' scoring?
Sometimes I am. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm not. But one of the really neat things about Compubox is that we did a study a few years ago, and it turns out that over the long haul, the fighter that lands more punches, according to Compubox, usually ends up lining up with the judges about 95% of the time.
95.
And also, as far as the close decisions are concerned, ours is just a quantitative recording of what happened.
Right.
We definitely know that there are other aspects of judging, rather, just on clean punching. There's aggressiveness, there's defense, there's the force of a punch, There's ring generalship, which I call strategic control,
right?
Which fighter is making the other fighter fight his fight. And I know that those aspects also go into judging. So there are variables, but most times the CompuBox number lines up with the official decision, and when it doesn't, it usually lines up with the conventional wisdom of who many people think should have won.
Okay. Well, Lee, I want to tell you that I want to thank you so much for being on the show with us today, because a lot of the viewers out there wanted to hear the voice of the man behind the stats, and you have definitely been one of the better ones out there. We thank you so much for your expertise and your opinions, and you walked us through the whole process. And I know it's not easy, but you're doing a great job. So we thank you very much for being on the show with us. Lee Groves, you're the best out there, buddy. God bless you always.
Thank you so much. And if you would allow me a couple of seconds, I'd like to mention that CompuBox has a show called Inside Boxing Live on YouTube and Pluto TV.
Okay.
Dan Canobio, who is son of Bob Canobio, does a really good job of hosting the show. And we also, Bob Canobio and I also put out a book earlier or last year called Muhammad Ali by the Numbers, where we ran the numbers on Muhammad Ali's fight. So it's available on Amazon, and hope everybody checks it out.
Okay, we'll make sure that our viewers out there will tune into that program. Anyway, Lee, again, thanks a million to being on the show with us today, and I'll see you at the next event.
All right, thanks. Looking forward to it.
Okay, bro. Take care. God bless.
All right, bye.
Well, fans out there, you heard Lee Groves there for CompuBox. He's one of the experts on
Absolutely, he's one of the guys who does it. He's one of the counters.
He's the guy that's counting those punches, and him and another individual. We said it's a team of 12 of them.
Yeah, they said 12 to 18 people all around the country, but only 2 at a time.
Yeah, 2 at a time.
So, I mean, and the reason why we bring this up, guys, the reason why this was so relevant today was we had another fight this weekend, a very exciting fight, almost surprisingly exciting fight on the DAZN app between Jaime Munguia and a Takeshi Inoue.
Yeah.
And that fight was a lot more contested than a lot of people assumed it would be, and I'm glad it was. It was very exciting.
It was a good fight, and it was another unknown fighter.
Absolutely an unknown fighter, a guy who'd only fought once out of Japan, and he really put on a great show, and he surprised a lot of us against Jaime Munguia. But a lot of people felt like the CompuBox numbers maybe were a little bit, not skewed, just not something they agreed with. And so a lot of questions were asked, how does this happen? Where do we get these numbers from? And so we wanted to hear it from, have not just us hear it, but also have you fans hear from the man themselves who are doing these counting and just how it works and where those numbers come from.
Exactly. I was very, very pleased with the Lee Groves' opinion, not opinion, but the way he walked us through the whole process. This is not an easy job to have.
Oh my God.
I mean, when you sit at ringside as a regular judge, you're calling the fights, and you have to be focused on what you're seeing right then and there. These guys have other individuals they're working with, and there's so much that goes on at the same time. But I tell you, Lee Groves, one of the nicest guys you want to meet. I've known him for maybe over 20 years. He's done a great job. Again, Lee, thank you so much. If you guys have any questions out there, I don't see any questions coming in. And remember that if you guys want to text, you can text. If you want to become a free network member, you can text boxing at 888-901-2466 to join our free network. That's something that we'd like to see you guys join, because we're going to try to build up our show. I want you guys to know we're trying to we're from the entertainment capital of the world, but don't forget, this is the boxing capital of the world. Mm-hmm. So you got to be one of our members. Again, you can text it. Don't call it. Text boxing at 888-901-2466. You join our free network. This way, you're going to have a lot of information. Any questions you may want to have, we'll be able to give them to you. We want to keep building and building and building. Today with modern day technology, there's so much going on out there. We're trying to get to another platform so you fans out there can get the best of boxing from us.
I couldn't agree more, my friend. Before we leave, I want to make sure we touch on this weekend's fights coming up.
Right.
We got a decent-sized card before the Super Bowl. We have Sergey Kovalev, who was once the man, once on top of the mountain, and he's going up against Elliot Alvarez, who knocked him out, 6 months back, something like that?
Yes.
I have a question about Sergey Kovalev. This is a man who was, he was one of the sport's premier boogeymen, a guy who everyone was afraid of. He was number 2 pound for pound behind Chocolatito Gonzalez.
Yeah.
He was the scariest man in the world. And then he lost twice to Andre Ward. The first one was controversial. Second one, they tried to make controversial. And then he, had 2 little tune-ups, regained his WBA belt, but it was an interim type situation, or it was a vacant belt situation, and then just lost it again to Eleider Alvarez. Right. How will history remember Sergey Kovalev?
Well, they're going to remember him as one of the better fighters out there in the super middleweight, light heavyweight division. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was a good one.
He was a unified champion. He had the IBF, WBO, WBA belts.
Yeah, no, he was good. He was good. But then he's 40 years old now? How old is he?
He's older, yeah.
He's like 42, I think. And you know what? And he had a great team of people behind him. Mm-hmm. And his manager, Mr. Tom Toffler, and then you had Kathy Duva, the promoter out from.
Yes. Duva was his promoter. Yes.
And I tell you that it's a shame that they see these fighters that they crumble almost overnight. But then again, but don't forget that you're going to be on top for so long. That's why I say, go out when you're on top. Andrew Ward did
Andre Ward, yeah.
Andrew Ward says, I'm going out on top. I'm not going to sit around here and wait forever. To somebody to beat me. He says, I'm undisputed champion. He says, I'm going to just go on and keep on winning and winning. But I think now that boxing is really picking up a lot more than it has in the last number of years. You can see that the boxing game is back on top.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And it's interesting, when you have a case like a Sergey Kovalev, a guy who had so much promise. Everyone believed he was going to set the boxing world on fire. And then it just never happened. He had all this stuff, and then this is kind of how it goes down. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we don't only have that. We also have a gentleman named Oscar Valdez, who is a featherweight champion, I believe WBA featherweight champion. Yeah. He's defending his title on the undercard of that fight. Now let me ask you this: this is a featherweight with a 79% knockdown rate, and we also have a Sergey Kovalev who's only had 4 victories where he didn't knock a guy out. Right. And then, he got knocked out himself, 2 of the 3 losses that he had. Right. Do you think it's a good chance that we'll see 2 knockouts this weekend?
It's a possibility. You never know. You never know. Boxing is kind of funny. You don't know what the fighter is going to bring to the table that night.
Right.
I mean, we thought that Keith Thurman could put away.
Didn't we ever?
Josecito Lopez. It never happened.
How about those?
It was almost the other way around.
How about those PBC cards, by the way? We thought the Keith Thurman one was going to be lopsided. We thought both Charlo fights were going to be lopsided. They were all supposed to be showcase fights. Yeah. And every one of them ended up being incredibly competitive.
It was very competitive.
Great job that PBC and Fox are doing, putting out these competitive fights that look like them weren't going to be on paper. I got one last question for you. Who's winning the Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl, I don't know. I'm not too much into football.
No, I know. That's why you might know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I wouldn't even get. But
I don't know either.
One question I wanted the fans is asking: how many points were considered for a knockdown? How many points are given when there's a knockdown? It depends. If you're losing a round, that's why they call it a 10-point must system. 10 goes to the winner, 8 or less for the fighter who loses the round. So if you got knocked down once, it's a 10-8 round. If you're knocked down twice, it's a 10-7. If you got knocked down 3 times, like Manny Pacquiao, when he knocked down Juan Marquez, a fight that I referee, got knocked down 3 times in the first round, 2 judges called it 10-7 because back then they said you couldn't go lower than a 10-7.
That makes sense.
And you know what? It was a 10-6 round.
Yes.
Because we had discussed it. I had told him before, if a fighter gets knocked down more than twice, the 3rd time, it's up to the discretion of the referee. They got to be more, you got to go lower than 10-7. And they said, right. So now they changed the scoring system to make it as low as 10-6. You get knocked down 3 times, 10-6. If you get knocked down more than that, the fight should be automatically stopped.
You like a 4 knockdown rule? 4 knockdown in a round?
No. 4 knockdown is not a good thing. 3 knockdown is already, you start considering stopping it.
Agreed.
Actually, I could have stopped that fight with Juan Marquez.
And we're all thankful you didn't. And you wouldn't have got the 4 fights out of it.
Right, but if I would have stopped it, people would have said, Joe's a referee. He knows his job is the safety of the fighter.
Exactly.
He rightfully stopped it. But anyway, so your point, I hope you get your point across. 10-8, 10-8 if you get 1 knockdown, 10-7, 2 knockdown, 10-6, 3 knockdown. And if you get knocked out more than that, I'm sorry for you. You shouldn't be. The fight should be stopped.
Yeah, then you're probably not going to the scorecards. I want to make sure that we shout out our iTunes. Make sure you follow us on iTunes. Make sure you follow us on Spotify. Make sure you follow us on Audio Boom. Make sure you follow us on everywhere where there's podcasts, please follow us. Make sure you watch our show on Saturdays here in Las Vegas. It's 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, and that's on 101.5 FM. and 7:20 a.m. It's KDWN, KDAWN. You can also find us on KDWN.com on those exact same times. Make sure you follow us on all that. And once again, if you want to join our free network, text BOXING to 888-901-2466. And you can join our free network where we'll be bringing you a lot of content directly to you.
Okay, fans, again, thank you for watching the show. We'll talk to you next week. And remember, keep your guards up at all times. And remember, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch them up. Take care.